So I've seen a lot of your think pieces, and I think you all need to stop. All of you. Alright, welcome back to the channel, guys. This is going to be a shorter video than the ones I usually post, just because it's kind of a sort of a knee-jerk reaction to like a thing I've been seeing all week on the internet that's just been driving me up a wall. So I figured I have a YouTube channel. I could just talk about it here rather than passive-aggressively sending out tweets occasionally. Alright, so it all started sometime last week when the Daily Mail, yes, that's correct, the Daily Mail, one of the most reputable news sources in the world, put out an article about how the new James Bond was a black woman. You guys may have seen it. The headline was super incendiary, and everyone got up in arms along two dividing lines. There was one half of the people, obviously, potentially larger half, who were angry and furious that there might be a new James Bond movie where James Bond was not only a woman, but a black woman. As I'm sure many of you are aware, there are a lot of people on the internet who don't like black people, let alone black women, and certainly don't want them mixed up in their James Bond nonsense, correct? So there's a lot of that. A lot of people being like, "Oh no, you're ruining James Bond, mate." No, that's how they sound. A lot of them probably aren't even actually English. Anyway, that was a lot of the people, right? And then the other half of the people were the opposite reaction. They were super stoked. They were like, "Finally, James Bond's gonna be a black woman. Like, this is what we need. Like, this representation we've been like dying for." And the one thing that both of those groups of people have in common is that neither one of them read the fucking Daily Mail article. Just none of them. None of them. And I actually did. I happened to wake up that morning because I live on the internet, and I opened my phone up, and I was like on Facebook, I think I was on the Zuck machine, and I saw the Daily Mail headline, and I was like, that's crazy, because my first thought was that, they're already making plans for after Daniel Craig leaves, and they're not even finished filming Daniel Craig's last movie. That's odd. That doesn't seem the way the rights holders tend to move, right? And I was correct. And I opened the article, which I know is like this weird thing that people used to do back in the day. They'd see a crazy batshit headline, and then they would go, "Oh, I want to know more. I would like to be further informed about this subject." So I actually read it. And if you read the article, if you actually read the whole thing, it's sort of like a flimsy set report from the currently filming Bond 25 movie, starring Daniel Craig as James Bond. Daniel Craig has not left the franchise yet. This is his final Bond movie. This is his fifth Bond outing and his final one. And the thing about the movie is that it's directed by Cary Joji Fukunaga, who directed the first season of True Detective, that show Maniac with Jonah Hill and Emma Stone, and lots of other stuff. Super talented filmmaker, one of the best directors working the biz, I think, today. Awesome guy. Pretty stoked to see him making a Bond movie. And in terms of like writing talent behind the movie, it's the same two schmucks who've written like the last 10 Bond movies somehow. It's Neil Purvis and Robert Wade, I think are their names. I might have their first names mixed up, I don't care. And they basically have written every Bond movie for like years, and they come on to do a Bond movie. They write kind of the same basic structure and like leave the right amount of room for the right number of set pieces. And then ever since Casino Royale, the producers will get like another sort of like artsier screenwriter to clean up their work and make it more palatable to like the gravitas-seeking audience that the Craig era Bond movies are seeking. So, for Casino Royale, it was those guys, and then Paul Haggis, the director of Crash. And then for Quantum of Solace, it was I think nobody because of the writer's strike, which explains certain elements of Quantum of Solace, obviously. And then for Skyfall, they brought in John Logan, who's like one of the most hit or miss screenwriters in the world. He's either like really great or like embarrassingly bad. And then for Spectre, John Logan came back, but that wasn't enough, so they also brought in Ches Butterworth to do rewrites. So for this movie, they are once again starting from like a blueprint those two guys made, but then they brought in Scott Z. Burns, who wrote Contagion, Haywire for Steven Soderbergh, like just a bunch of really strong movies. Guy's like a killer screenwriter. So since that wasn't enough to fix what was widely regarded as being kind of a disaster of a project, they brought in Phoebe Waller-Bridge, the creator of Fleabag, to do more rewrites. So what the Daily Mail alleges, sorry for the background, is that Phoebe Waller-Bridge has, done a lot of rewrites on the script, and that one of the key plot elements of the script, if you guys remember from Spectre, if you watched Spectre, I don't know why you would have, when Spectre ended, Bond appeared to have retired from being James Bond. So in the new movie, his final outing as Bond, he will have been retired from the service, and the 007, designation will have been given to another agent. So there's supposed to be a big scene in the movie where M, probably still Ray Fiennes, will be in the office and go, send in 007, and then a black woman's going to walk in. It's going to be Lashana Lynch, who you may remember as being Captain Marvel's sidekick in Captain Marvel. She's like a super talented actress. She's really cool, and I'm glad she's getting like a big look like this. I want to see her get more actual roles where she's not just like a token or a sidekick, but like, hopefully this will help her get some notoriety. But she is the new 007 in the movie, allegedly. She's the person that's taken over that role because James Bond, the protagonist of this franchise, has retired. And considering it's still his last movie, the likelihood that this is going to be some sort of like handing off of like, duties and stuff is incredibly unlikely. For a few reasons. Every single movie that has done that style of action movie where it's like the old star and the new star taking over and they pass it along has never worked. Indiana Jones with Shia LaBeouf didn't work. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, very awesome movie, but didn't work in terms of making Jeremy Renner take over the franchise. You're never going to take over a franchise from Tom Cruise, especially for Jeremy Renner. As if it's a paradigm that Hollywood has tried to use a couple of times in the last decade or so, but it's not a successful one. So the likelihood that they're making a Bond movie where Daniel Craig is Bond and then he like passes the baton to this new Bond woman is not gonna happen. Like that's just not what's gonna happen. I'm sorry, that's not real. If you guys have watched, any James Bond movie ever, especially the last few, these are movies that are not particularly good to women. Like at all. I think like Vesper is like the closest to being like an actual fully fledged like female character in these movies. Olga Kurylenko's character in Quantum is also pretty cool too, but that's the same movie that has a woman who has like 3 lines of dialogue and then gets like drowned in oil. The chick that gets her head shot in the face in Skyfall. Like, these movies just look at women as, like, disposable bodies. Women show up to fuck James Bond, and they show up to die because of James Bond's negligence. That's, like, literally their only role. So while I would be willing to watch a movie about a female James Bond, or a black James Bond, or whatever you choose to do with James Bond, it's not going to happen in this franchise. It's not going to happen in this iteration of this franchise, okay? Because at any given point, if they really wanted to do something different, they could have just not kept bringing Daniel Craig back. If they wanted to actually cast a brand new person and start from scratch and reboot the franchise, like they could have. They've been trying to milk the Craig thing because, well, one, he happens to be a very good Bond. I like Daniel Craig as Bond. I don't know how other people feel. I think he's one of the best Bonds who just doesn't happen to have really strong films to back up how good he is as Bond. And that way, he's kind of like Peter Capaldi as the Doctor. This is my take. So, the thing is, in all likelihood, how this movie is actually going to go is that we're going to get that, breathtaking scene they're so proud of that they leaked it to the fucking Daily Mail. And Lashana Lynch is going to show up as, like, the new 007. And then she's probably going to have to go to James Bond for something. Maybe there's an open case that only he knew the answers to. And then she's probably going to get fucking killed, dude. She's probably going to fucking die, probably drastically. And then he's going to have to come out of retirement, be 007 again, and go on, like, one last mission or whatever. And then, And apparently they bring back Blofeld, so we get to hear more Christoph Waltz over-enunciating bad dialogue. Like, in all likelihood, this is going to be another promising but middling Bond entry for Daniel Craig. Like, Casino Royale is pretty fire, and then Quantum of Solace is, I think, underrated. I rewatched all of the Craig Bond films last week. And Skyfall is, like, heavily overrated. It's got some cool stuff, and then a lot of crappy stuff. And then Spectre starts off really strong and then turns to garbage. Like, this franchise and the direction they've taken Bond in is destined, doomed, really, to end in one more messy blaze of glory. And I'm pretty sure only one small iota of that blaze of glory will include featuring a black woman being 007 for like 10 minutes of screen time maybe, and then dying. And then Daniel Craig will talk about how much that sucked for him. Because that's typically how Hollywood treats women in movies. Like that's reality, okay? And I just think it's crazy to me that so many people over the course of this week jumped to so many conclusions. One, all of the racists and bigots who are always ready to fight colorblind casting. And then two, all of the bloggers and stuff who really want to champion a movie where a black woman is Bond, but like none of them thought through that like that's not what's happening here. everyone was just so eager to get up their article on their site about how there's a new black woman Bond, to get those clicks and stuff, and to get those hateful arguments started in the comments that keep the fucking engagement rolling, that no one stopped to go, oh wait, this is probably a really small part of this movie. This is probably not the start of a new franchise. They didn't sign her to a 3-picture deal, man. They didn't go, Lashana Lynch is coming on, and like she's gonna get director approval, and like, you know, Melina Matsuka's gonna direct a Bond movie or something like that. None of those things happened, dude. She's in this movie. She's just gonna be playing another like glorified Bond girl, essentially, most likely. And I mean, hey, I'll be happy to be wrong if the movie's better than that, but I doubt it. The producers of these films do not care about those things. It's said that the reason Danny Boyle ended up having to back out from directing this movie was because he was going to do a more openly political take on Bond and engaging with the franchise's like long-standing relationship with colonialism, and they didn't want to make it that overtly political, so they got rid of him, and they got Kerry Joji Fukunaga, and then now we got this black Bond woman thing, which is just like a lip service thing. It is a thing that gets clicks going, gets people talking, gets people thinking about this stuff, but doesn't actually have to do it. And I know the movie's like a year out, and maybe this is premature of me to be getting this worked up about something that doesn't actually technically exist yet, but I watch a lot of movies. We've all seen this cycle happen before. We know how this really goes. And it's sad to me that so many of us were so willing to get swept up in what is utter bullshit. We just had this a few weeks ago with the Ariel announcement for The Little Mermaid. Super stoked the black girl's going to be Ariel in The Little Mermaid. That's really neat. Still going to be a Disney movie. Still directed by Rob Marshall, of all people. Still very likely going to be like middling and exactly what we expect. You know, that's just the likelihood of how these things go. But I think studios are getting hip to the fact that like just the mere mention of these sorts of sensitive topics in the culture wars. I don't agree that they're sensitive. I don't agree in the concept of the culture wars, but that's what people call it, right? People know that when these bits of news come out, everyone starts talking about your movie. Now, they might not be talking about your movie positively. They might be fighting and arguing about it, but like, it's enough to get the ball rolling. And for some people, you know, any press is good press. And I think it's really gross that a lot of studios are going to start leveraging the really fucked up relationship with race and gender in this country to get people to talk about and promote their movie. I mean, I get why they're doing it, but that doesn't mean you have to like it or approve of it. And I know it would sound moralizing of me to tell people to not engage with it, because we all get in arguments on the internet about popular culture, me included. I'm not perfect, and I don't pretend like other people need to be. But like, man, at the very least, can we collectively agree that when these articles drop, when these things happen, if you're gonna get no discussion about it, if you're gonna get into a debate or some kind of discourse, can you at the very least read the fucking article so you know the full story, so you know what's going on, and you can have an actually more informed opinion about the situation, and not just go off to your separate camps, you know, arguing about what you think is going to happen and stuff. Like, this is not like, this isn't some both sides are wrong thing. I'm not like a weirdo centrist. I'm literally just saying that in this particular case, I think everyone jumped the gun for no reason, and it sucks, and it's stupid. And the person I feel the worst for in the situation is Lashana Lynch, because people are going to be looking at her thinking like, wow, this is a really big thing. She's going to be the next Bond, or have like a black woman Bond, and like, not really, man. Like, she's not going to lead the franchise. She's not the main character. And she's probably going to die. I'm sorry, dog. She is probably going to die in this movie. That sucks. I hope not. But, like... And you know what, racists? All of you that are so frustrated and mad that a black woman could be James Bond or could be 007 or whatever, like, this movie can't be worse than Spectre was. So, like, right off the bat, if that's what you're so concerned about, if you think that, like, cultural Marxism or something is gonna like ruin James Bond, you guys already sat through Spectre. That movie didn't cater to social justice warriors at all, and it sucked. So like, it can't feasibly get worse than that. My take is that at the very least, Fukunaga's gonna give us a couple of cool like one-er scenes, most likely. The idea of the guy that did that really cool one-er in True Detective Dick in a Bond movie, to me, we're probably gonna get a dope-looking movie. I don't know if the story's gonna be any good. Craig will probably be tight. Maybe it'll be fun. I just think that like, this is going to become more and more of a trend in the way movie discourse goes on the internet now. Movies are going to have casting that is controversial, and they're going to leverage that controversial casting to get people talking. And I think at the very least, we should make an effort to, like, you know what the fuck is happening. That way we're not just, like, being pawns in these schemes. That's what I think. That's it for me. If you guys want to sound off in the comments about your favorite Bond movies, who your favorite Bond is, who you think should take over for Daniel Craig when he leaves, if Christopher Nolan should come and take over the franchise, even though this entire Daniel Craig iteration of the franchise has been ripping that guy off hardcore, let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you thought about Lashana Lynch being the Black 007. Is there someone else you would have picked? Is there someone you'd like to see next time around? That type of stuff. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. If you have subscribed, hit the bell icon. You can be notified the next time I drop a new video. Another video coming up later in the week. 2 videos actually this week. If you get that little notification, you'll know, and you can see me talking about more stuff. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a great day, and bye.